Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth with 217 Creations, and I'm here today to share with you an altered frame that I recently completed, and I got to use several new products with this project, so I'm excited to get going and show it to you. This is my latest project. I know it's going to be really hard to see the dimension between the Flower Soft and the cuts, but I'm hoping I can capture this on video for you so you can see how really cool this is in person with all the dimensions. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to kind of tell you what I used to create this product. It's really a fun project. Had quite a few steps to it, but overall I really love the results. This is what the frame looked like that I bought. And I picked these up at Walmart for $2. They had no glass in them, and I don't think that was an accident. I'm pretty sure it's an intentional choice not to have any glass in them, because I picked up 5 or 6 of these and none of them had glass. So this is what the project looked like beforehand, and here's after. So what I did is I started by painting the base of the frame with acrylic paint, and I did 2 very light coats of acrylic paint, and this color is basil, and so it's kind of an olive green tone. Then once the paint dried there, I came in with distressed crackle paint in fired brick and gave it a really nice coating with that. And because I was kind of under a time crunch, I did not let it air dry. I took a heat gun and lightly applied heat to it. If you do that, you have to be careful that you don't overheat the paint, but it is a faster way to dry the crackle paint. The next step was using another crackle paint, and this one's called Tarnished Brass. And for that one, the red one I just kind of put here and there, and then the tarnished brass I actually covered the entire frame with, and then I heat set that as well. Once that was dried, I took a spray adhesive and covered the frame in a spray adhesive, and then I used these 2 Flower Soft colors, Vintage Christmas and Ivory, and I just lightly sprinkled that into the spray adhesive. I love spray adhesive for large projects when it comes to Flower Soft, because to use a liquid adhesive, you would not get this even of a coating. I don't know if you can kind of see that in the video, but it has a very nice even coating. It would be very hard to achieve that. Now, as far as the center is concerned, right here, this is actually done on my Cricut Imagine on wood veneer. And this is what it looked like before. This is wood veneer. I bought a huge box of it. I forget how many feet were in the box, but it ran me about $24 at the hardware store. But it's ultra thin. It came curled in a box, and unfortunately it was so curled that it can't go through the Imagine that way. So I had to cut it into 12 by 12 sections so it could fit through my Cricut Imagine. And then I let that sit for quite a while under flat objects, so then this could be adhered to a mat and ran through the Cricut Imagine on print. And this print that you're looking at here, this is from Cricut, and it's called Snow Angel. And I really love that cartridge, one of my favorite cartridges to work with. So that's what this print is. So I printed on the veneer, cut the veneer to fit inside the frame, and then once I had that, I mounted it to the back of the picture frame and closed it off. In order to get this gloss that you're seeing in the video here, sorry there's a little fuzzy on there, in order to get this gloss, this was done with a new product for me personally, and it's called EnviroTex Lite Pour On High Gloss Finish. And this was a new product for me. This is the first time I've gotten to use this product. I absolutely love the results. It was quite intimidating, I have to say, at first, just because I had heard people have had trouble making this product work. But once I kind of got the hang of it, I really love my finished results. So this is definitely going to be one of those products that I will keep on hand. A little bit goes a very long way, especially for us paper crafters. If you were doing a large item, this product you'd probably have to buy in a bigger size, but this small box, the 8 fluid ounce kit, is going to do several projects, and I'll show you here at the end of the video several different things I got to make with just mixing 2 ounces. So only a fourth of the box got used, and I made several projects with it. So this is a really cool project. I know you can buy this online, but My Michael sells it in their adhesive section. And so you can also buy it there. But I really love the results that I received from this product. It comes with printed instructions, and I highly recommend following the printed instructions. You also want to pick up these cups, and they worked really well because they have ounce measurements, and not just 1 ounce, 2 ounce, but they're broken down into quarter ounces, so you can get exact measurements. And basically what you do is it's a 2-part epoxy. You have 2 parts to it, and it's an equal ratio. So if you mix 1 ounce of the hardener, you're going to need 1 ounce of the resin. So it's equal parts. So whatever you measure of one, you need to measure of the other. Once again, follow the instructions inside the box. You'll want to whip this up when you're mixing it together. You'll see bubbles. It kind of started freaking me out a little bit, but I followed the instructions and kept whipping. I then took my resin and poured it into this frame so it would create like almost a glass effect inside here. Now I have to say, one of the cool things about this product is just what the manufacturer says. It's self-leveling, which means it creates a really, really flat surface as it spreads. Now the one thing that I kind of panicked about was I saw bubbles coming, but according to the instructions that was supposed to be normal. There are 2 ways you could get rid of the bubbles. At least for a small project. For a larger project, they recommend using a heated propane torch, but you would have to have, I think, a fairly large project to need that. What I did with the help of my husband is as we poured it, we saw the bubbles, and I followed what the instructions said, and I lightly exhaled, yes, exhaled, onto the bubbles, and they started popping, and it really started smoothing out. In the process, we made the mistake of cutting my veneer a little bit short. If you do something like this where you're going to pour into a frame, you have to make sure that your piece of paper or veneer that is sitting on here comes all the way out past these edges, because if you don't, I'm going to flip this over, it's not as pretty. You're going to get leakage, and that's what I did. And then we caught it pretty early on when I saw the leakage happening. So originally I had it sitting on a flat surface and I poured it. When we saw the leakage, we raised it up 2 inches and let it drip. And that's how the instructions say to do the projects, is to let it drip off. So we went ahead and did that, and then after 24 hours, this is what we ended up with. Now your curing and drying time is going to depend on the temperature in the air as well as the humidity. My studio is in my basement, but it's pretty dry down here for a basement, and I kept my space heater running to keep my room at about 75-80 degrees overnight. So it stayed pretty warm down here too, and those will affect your dry time and your cure time, the humidity combined with the temperature. So mine took 24 hours to dry, and I'm sure it's not cured 100%, but it's definitely dry to the touch. And I really love this. So this is, once again, let me show you what the product looks like. It's called EnviroTex, and really the instructions can seem pretty intimidating, but if you kind of stick with the instructions, it's not so scary. Really, really love it. Wait till you see some of the other things I made with it. So once I poured my resin into here and I followed all the instructions and let it dry overnight, I came back in with some cuts, and these die cuts that you're seeing on the frame are all from Snow Angel. They've been embellished with the eye rock to set these little gems into the cuts. All the cuts have been inked and edged with distress ink in frayed burlap, peeled paint, and antique linen. And on my Imagine cuts, I always like to use 2 to 3 colors of ink on the distress inks to really create a beautiful dimension. Without that, sometimes these cuts can look a little flat. And same thing with the snowflakes. I did the same inking process, and I rocked them with the Imaginess eye rock in the center. I know it's hard to see, but there are 2 sayings, phrases I should say, seasons, greetings, and these were cut twice. Once out of paper, and the second time out of chipboard, just plain old round chipboard. And once I cut that, I used one of my other favorite tools to edge off the cuts on the chipboard, because if you've cut with a Cricut before, sometimes you end up, especially if the chipboard is fibrous like this is, you can end up with little stray pieces of chipboard kind of on some of these sharper cuts, especially a cut like this. If you can kind of see, there's lots of hooks. You can end up with little chunks of chipboard that doesn't quite remove itself. So what I use is this tool, and this is from Imaginess, and it's their distress tool. It comes with 3 different tips. This is the tip I use. This is the smallest one. I hope you can see that in the video. And it's kind of like a mini Dremel. My husband laughs because it's pink and it's got little tips, but it's like a mini Dremel that your husband may own in his garage to work with. And what I love about this product is that it's got this really small tip, so I can get right into, you can see in the picture, I can get right into these hooks. See how far that goes in? I can get into these hooks and really clean up my cuts. Now, if I wanted to stress it a little more, I can hold it and go slower and tear up the chipboard a little bit more, and it'll give more of a distressed look. On this one, I really wasn't going for that, so I went really, really softly on this tool, and it really cleaned up my cuts and gave it a really nice finish. So this is one of my other favorite products. I love it. So if you can find this, for me, I found it in town at an Archivers is where I found it, but I know my local scrapbooking store also sells it now, and I'm sure several online retailers are selling this as well. And once again, it's called the Imaginess Distress, and I believe it's D''STRESS. So keep your eye out for it. It's a really great product to have on hand, and it was not that expensive. So once I did that, I adhered my paper to my chipboard, and then I hot glued everything down. And that is my completed project. To add a little bit of design on the side and to cover up my mistake from the resin dripping out, I used a little bit of pearl stranded ribbon along the side. So I really love the finished look of this. It's very pretty. In the video, I'm sure you're not able to see quite the dimension that you can see in person, but it really turned out nice, and I love how that resin center looks. You can see it as my light shine on it, how smooth and glass-like it is. So that's one project I made with it. Now, when I mixed my resin, it calls for equal parts. So I put 1 ounce of resin with 1 ounce of hardener. So I ended up with 2 ounces. This only used, to fill this frame, only used about, I'd say, 3/4 to 1 ounce of the product. So I still had quite a bit left over. So I decided to play real quick, because you don't have a lot of time before it starts hardening. But I decided to play a little bit and make a few other things. This is one. And I just had these little jewelry charms sitting around, and I put some micro beads and a rhinestone and just poured the resin in there. So these will be some other projects you'll see in some upcoming posts that I have. But I wanted to show you some of the cool things you can do. This is another one I did. I had one of these bracelets, these like little well bracelets. I found these at Hobby Lobby. And once again, I just filled with micro beads, like these. Little micro beads. And then took the resin and poured the resin into there. Another little experiment I did very quickly was on grunge paper and grunge board. So this is actually grunge board that I ended up using. I used Distress Stain in fired brick, and then once it dried, I stamped it with a Pink by Design newsprint backgrounder, which is this one. You can kind of see it on my stamping here. And I stamped the image with archival ink from Ranger, and then I poured that epoxy on top and let it dry. One thing I found that I really, really liked with this product, the EnviroTex, was I used, instead of wax paper as the product called for, I used freezer paper, and it made it really easy to pull things off. So I also made this flower. It's just some cuts from Pagoda Cricut cartridge, and I layered them up, put a rhinestone in, and lightly poured it on top. I had to paint a little bit with the brush to get up on the edges, but as you can see, there's several different things. But the instructions are pretty straightforward and pretty easy to follow, in my opinion. And if you get the time to work with the product and you have some patience, you can really create some cool effects with this product that I don't think are out there on the paper market right now. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you have any questions or comments, please email me. And once again, thank you for following and subscribing. If you want a photo tutorial, please visit my blog at 217creations.com, and I have a photo tutorial of this product, and coming soon will be some projects done with those other products that I showed you. So I hope you have a great day, and thank you again as always. Bye bye.